Back in today's Making Their Case, is Senator Joseph Lieberman flip-flopping on health care reform? That's what some stunned Democrats on Capitol Hill are saying after Lieberman said he will filibuster the health care reform bill if it includes the so-called Medicare buy-in or anything resembling a public option. David, it's not just Democrats. There's now proof of what the senator has said in his own words that anyone would categorize, I think, as a different view than what he said in the past.
Yeah, and what makes it so shocking to the Democratic leaders in Congress is the simple fact that when Joe Lieberman was running for vice president with Al Gore back in 2000, they campaigned on a platform for a Medicare buy-in for those who are eligible. But here's Lieberman's latest position.
I think the only way to get this done before Christmas is to bring in some Republicans who are open-minded on this, like Olympia Snowe. I'll tell you.
Well, what do you have to do that?
You got to take out the Medicare buy-in. You got to forget about the public option. You probably have to take out the Class Act, which is a whole new entitlement program that will, in future years, put us further in the deficit. And you got to adopt some of the cost containment provisions that will strengthen cost containment that all of us favor. If you did that, you'd have an enormous accomplishment.
Except, of course, you wouldn't get any support in the House. Anyway, Lieberman followed the television appearance with a face-to-face meeting in Harry Reid's office, a meeting described as contentious. So with Lieberman, Nelson, and Republican Olympia Snowe all insisting they will vote against the legislation, how will Reid get the 60 votes he needs to pass? Here to make the case, Ryan Grimm, senior congressional correspondent with the Huffington Post, and Liz Mair, a blogger and former online communications director for the Republican National Committee. Ryan, is it now time for Harry Reid, the Democratic leadership, to use reconciliation, the process whereby they only need 51 votes?
Well, it might be, and that might be the last threat that you have for Joe Lieberman. They're calling a special caucus meeting at 5:30 this evening where all of the Democrats are going to get together and find out, I guess, exactly where Joe Lieberman is. Because what you have to understand is it wasn't just that as vice president he supported this. When he ran again in 2006, he supported a Medicare buy-in. For years, he's been supporting the right of people 55 and up to buy into Medicare. 3 months ago, he repeated that position to the Connecticut Post. And just over the last few weeks, he was saying that he was open to it, but he wanted to wait till the CBO analyzed it. Now, what I think happened is that he heard that the CBO was going to analyze it and that it wouldn't be very costly. So he wanted to jump out in front of it and quote unquote oppose it in principle. But of course, that's not principle if you are opposing the same position that you had just 3 months ago.
Liz Mair, would it make more sense for Joe Lieberman just to come out and say he's a Republican? I mean, if he's going to help the Republicans filibuster this, why doesn't he just make it clear and just be honest and say he's a Republican?
Well, there are certainly a lot of liberals and progressives who are asking themselves that right now. I think if you look at the full spread of issues and where Joe Lieberman is on all of them, you will find that he is probably somewhat more centrist, but isn't really quite in the Republican camp on quite a few things. He is probably socially more liberal. He has taken a more liberal line when it comes to economic policy and fiscal policy. So it probably doesn't really make sense for him to be in the Republican Party as such, although many Republicans will be cheering him on as he looks to block this particular health care reform.
Ryan, let me ask you, you've got the Politico reporting that the White House has told Senator Reid to cut a deal with Joseph Lieberman. What's your reaction to that news if it is actually true here?
Well, yeah, it means that the president is enabling Joe Lieberman in his effort to just drag the bill as far to the right as he possibly can.
What would be their motivation to do so? I mean, especially knowing the outcry from more liberal Democrats in the party and from those who all along have felt that he should have been, meaning Joseph Lieberman, should have been punished for actions that he took during the campaign.
If it's true, and I'm told that there might be a denial coming from the White House, but that doesn't mean that it's actually not true, because it came from someone in the White House. There are certain political advisors over there who think that as long as they can call something health care reform, then they can put their stamp on it and they can go into 2010 saying that they accomplished something. That's not going to be the kind of thing that gets the Democratic base out to vote for your supporters in 2010, or for your candidates in 2010. And it's still going to alienate the teabaggers no matter what it is. So you're going to have an angry right, you're going to have a dissatisfied Democratic base going into 2010.
Liz, do you believe that no matter what comes out of the Senate at this point, that if Republicans can't bank on blocking it there, that if this does go much farther to the right, you'll see a number of, you'll get this killed by progressive Democrats in the House? So we'll say, wait a second, we passed something with a public option, it's no longer there, there's no Medicare buy-in, we're not going to support this.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, first of all, if you take people at their word, clearly that's going to be an issue. But I think irrespective of what ultimately does come out of the Senate, it's pretty clear that the only way that they're going to get anything out, unless they use reconciliation, which it doesn't look like anybody has any intention of doing, basically you're going to have a direct conflict between the Senate and the House on what they want to see in the bill. You've got a situation where in the Senate you don't have Stupak language. In the House bill, you do. In the House bill, you've got the public option. In the Senate, you're probably not going to. I mean, it's very hard to actually reconcile those two things. Setting aside any issues with regard to what Lieberman may do or what Republicans may think or any of that sort of thing.
Ryan Grimm and Liz Mair, interesting stuff as always. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks.
David, still ahead, some stomach-churning video.